I just had to pull up that Jingle Cat song. I just thought that was too cute not to use tonight. So we don't have that many here, and I really wasn't expecting a huge crowd because there's people who have so many other things going on tonight with it being Christmas. But we thought it'd be fun just to spend the evening talking about our own cats, cats of our past or cats we have now, just stories about them that we might want to share with others. And so, Carol, you want to start? You've had lots of cats over the years. Do you have any stories you want to tell?
You know, I talk so much on this channel, I'm going to hand it off to the person next in line. Melissa, do you have a cat story you'd like to share?
I do. First off, I want to thank you guys because without you, I would not have my two babies. Mine, if you don't know, mine are Bobby, who has actually been named Ruthie because that's the name that was on her paperwork, and Rufus, the two cats that were with Poppy, the bobcat, and helped him get his freedom. And they are doing absolutely amazing. I have to thank you guys for domesticating them and allowing them to come into my home because great. And they love everything. But I do have a question. They're kind of picky eaters. Does anybody recommend any type of like a raw diet that they use for their domestic cats? Because they were on Royal Canin, and Royal Canin has become really hard to get. So I'm wondering if maybe there's a raw food out there that is better than Royal Canin, maybe.
If anybody has a suggestion or just jump in there and give her an answer. I have not been successful in getting my domestic cats to eat a raw diet as much as I think they should eat a raw diet. And I used to use a raw diet when I had show cats. But I'm just way out of the loop on that one.
As raw as mine get is they love tuna. That's about as raw meat diet as I get with mine because mine don't like it either. Except they do love tuna, but the extent, and I'd mix it in with their other food to get them to eat their other food. Actually,
is there any food that's better for them? Maybe because they seem to like, as much as I hate to say this, they like Friskies, but that's about the only thing, and they're chicken eaters only.
Yeah, my cat used to love chicken. I mean, cooked chicken. You know, if I was ever eating fried chicken or anything like that, she would just claw me to death to get a piece. So I would say, yeah, cooked chicken is good. I don't know.
Thank you. Well, the only story I have, I left for a week and let my best friend watch the cats and come over and feed them, and they would not come out from under the bed, hissed at her and spit at her and everything like that. Well, then last month, Bella came down and visited with Missy, and they both came out and were letting Bella pet them, letting Bella take care of them, stuff like that. So I really think it's amazing the strides that they've made, and they are doing such a great job. Thank you guys for giving me my kitties.
that was a really great thing to watch too. Whenever they were, helping rehab the cat, that was a really special thing to get to watch, I think, as well. And then now for you to have them as your own in your home, I think that's really cool. So if you weren't here whenever we, at the very top, I'm sorry, Melissa, go ahead.
No, let's go ahead. I was just passing it along.
That's what I was getting ready to say. If you weren't here at the top of the hour when we got started, Carol suggested that we just go down the row. And so, for example, Melissa would pass it on to Patricia, and then Patricia handed off to Marcy and so on, so that we save a little time going back and forth in between. So, Patricia, I'll let you take it over.
Okay, thank you. Hi. Yeah, my full name is Patricia. I always go by Pat. I kind of wanted to do just a brief intro and then talk about my kitties. I'm just so honored and excited for you to come up with this idea of us sharing information about our domestic kitties here. So I'm a relatively new BCR supporter in this past year. I'm also pretty much from early childhood, I have always loved felines and have been exposed to them, from early childhood up until a little over 6 decades now. Have had them in my life at home or through neighbors. And to me, felines are beautiful, brilliant, playful, just absolutely wonderful. And I love them all. And I currently have 2 strays, both full-time indoors. One is a female, about 9 years old. She originally crawled out of a drain here around the corner in our neighborhood. And she's the most loving domestic kitty I've ever had. She's kind of a dark brown, gray, black, gray tabby. And then my other little one now is a male, about 4.5. And he was originally found as an abandoned kitten, barely 6 weeks old, on a street about 15 miles from here. And it turns out, he is, his markings are basically brown gray, very beautiful. He's got medium length fur, and he does have, obviously, both the vet confirmed with me. He has a lot of domestic Bengal genetic lines in him. And they're my best friends. They're an absolute joy. And I just love felines, and just absolutely we enjoy every day together. So I was wondering if anybody had any questions for me or anything before I pass it along. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, thank you for sharing. That's it's always wonderful to know that people are saving, these cats from situations like you did. Mine were rescued as well, and I'll talk about them later if we have time, but rescues are always the best. Marcy, how about you?
Sure. I was actually just sitting here thinking the irony that I always joked with my friends that I was a crazy cat lady and would one day end up with 32 cats. And I just realized that I now sponsor 35 at Big Cat Rescue. So I have lived up to that name. So I'll give recognition to all my cats in my life. So my first was Muffin that my grandparents got for me. And my Juliet that we adopted, who was a cat that the neighbors owned, and I knew her through my aunt, Bertha. The interesting stories were after college, I house and cat and dog sat for about 10 years out of college, and my cat Bojangles came to me that way. 2 of the people I house and cat sat for ended up moving in together. Mr. Morgan, Emmy Lou, and Colby, too, at one house did not play well with Bojangles, and especially Colby bullied her. And it was the time I was moving into what was my grandparents' house, and so the owners asked if I would adopt Bojangles. The very day that Bojangles moved in, so I work with volunteers at my local hospital. One of them, Bob, has played piano there for 25 years. The very day she moved in, he played a song, and he looked at me and he said, "Do you know what that was?" And I'm like, "Bob, I have no ear for music." He had played Mr. Bojangles. Then my next cat was Waimea. I learned do not go on the Humane Society website because you'll want to bring them all home. She was a senior cat at 11 years old, was blind. They actually had to remove her eyes. They had gotten that bad and that painful for her. And then she was a black cat, and we all know about black cats at the Humane Society and anywhere that it's hard to find them homes. And I fell in love with her. So the time I adopted her, I was talking with a volunteer who was out in Hawaii, and it turned out she was in the next town over from Waimea, Hawaii. So both Bojangles and Waimea had interesting ties to my volunteers. When I lost Bojangles, there was a little cat at the veterinarians that they asked me if I'd consider adopting because they knew about my Waimea and her blindness. And Minerva had cauliflower ears and had been a feral, so she was in really rough condition, and they knew that they had to find someone special who would find her beautiful despite her cauliflower ears. And so, yes, I'm a sucker. I brought her home. And then when I lost my Waimea, the little cat that is in the photo for my profile here is Aslan. And I loved The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And of course, we all know that's where Aslan comes from. And he is a lion in his own right. So anyways, I'm a crazy cat lady, and I approve it at the cat rescue and with my adopters.
Well, thank you for adopting all those cats.
You're welcome. And I guess Dawn is the next one on the list.
Marcy, that's awesome. Okay, so the past cats that I've had was Dina and Peanut. And Peanut ended up having diabetes, and I had to give her shots daily. And then she passed on, and now I have my sweet, not so sweet cat Ginger, and she does not play well with others. She didn't get along with her dog brothers until just recently. It literally took like 7 years. And now she kind of rules the roost and is at least now like leaving them alone and going about her business. And that's about all. You can hear my dogs in the background. I will turn it over to Lanny.
Okay. Well, first of all, I wanted to say Merry Christmas to everybody. And talking about my cats, my very first cat was named Frisky. And that was when I was about, I'd say like 9 years old. And I had her for a long, long time. And I think she had some Abyssinian in her because she was very thin and regal looking. And although she was a tabby, she was striped. And she had kind of not a so nice personality. She was definitely a one-person cat, and I was that one person that she really stuck to. So, and, she allowed me to basically do, anything with her. So, my second cat was also named Frisky. It was Frisky number 2. She was a tabby, and she was very sweet disposition. And I had her, how many years did I have her? 15 years before she passed away. And then there was Gracie, and Gracie was, she was a tabby as well. And she was pretty frisky. She had a frisky personality, but she was very sweet also. And I had her till she passed when she was 16. And then my most recent cat that I've had was Pepper. And she was black and medium length hair. She had kind of long hair, beautiful green eyes. And I had her for 20 years until she passed away. But she went through a lot of things with me and moving and different places. And she really was my, a good companion to me for all those years. And I miss her every day since she's passed. I haven't gotten any cats to not replace, but, in addition yet. And I'm waiting until I have a little more free time and can spend the time. And I think I'll adopt probably 2 cats so they can have company for each other. That's all I have to say. Oh, it's your turn, Donna.
Thank you. Happy holidays. So I'm just going to tell you about the kitty that's in my photo and his brother, who is a dog. Rudy is the dog, and he actually thinks he's a cat. He was raised with other cats. We had him when he was like 1.5 years. So Rudy was he's a puppy mill survivor, and he's always been very shy, very cat-like, and doesn't like humans that much, although he loves us. And he's always adapted to cats very well, because when he moved into the house, there was a very sweet cat that was very understanding of dogs. And when she passed, we got this guy, and his name is Bap Kennedy, and I named him after an Irish musician that I became friends with that passed away a few years before. And he is a rescue. He came from a high kill shelter in South Carolina. We have found BB bullets in him, or at least one. I'm sure there's more, because he had a back injury and they had to figure out what was going on. He is a cat that thinks he's a dog, so it's really interesting what we have here. And the reason why he's in that screened in little area is that during COVID, he was really missing seeing people he doesn't know. So I would take him, and I still do, I take him in the stroller in the neighborhood, and he will actually start screaming and meowing when he sees any of my neighbors, because he wants them to pet him. He knows how to sit, he knows how to give paw, he knows how to stay. He is my dog cat, and he is a huge Siamese. He towers over my dachshund, even though they weigh the same. He might weigh a little bit more. He's 16 pounds, which is not fat, but he kind of looms over the dog, which is funny. And they love to chase each other. He loves to play. He's a crazy Siamese cat. Thank you, and I'm done speaking, and I'll pass it over to Ben.
Hey there, Donna. Thank you so much for handing it over. In my picture, we've got Luca, and Luca was a shelter kitty, and still is. I mean, we adopted, but I mean, he's still with us. Had some aggression and attention-seeking behavior, but we've also got a dog. His name is Goofy. I'm walking him right now outside, and they don't get along. They're both very independent animals. So for some of the people who've had success getting their dogs and cats to get along, do you have any advice for maybe how to get them to? I've heard things like feeding them between doors near each other and stuff like that, but I don't know of good ways to introduce, just because the dog's so much bigger, and we worry about some sort of a negative interaction. And also, I just wanted to say thanks, Merry Christmas, and happy to be in the room.
Hey Ben, this is Dawn, and I know for like past experience, my cat did not like my dog. So what I did was I put up gates everywhere, because the cats could like jump and the dogs really can't jump over. And it kind of helped the cat like stay back, and if the cat wants to go, it's like her choice, whether she wants to like jump over the gate or what. I hope that helps.
Thank you, that does. I've even thought of sitting in the kennel with my dog and letting the cat roam around us and get used to us, because they don't see each other that much, because we keep them separated. But when I got my dog from the shelter, they said that he had some issues with a cat at a previous owner's place. So we just, we're extra cautious, but we want to eventually have them be friends,
Yeah, like I said, like baby gates, like putting them up somewhere.
Yeah.
Or
Thanks for
even-
that. I appreciate it. And I can hand it off to the next Dawn, coincidentally. And just thanks again.
Hello. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I don't recently own any cats, but I feed about 60 cats in my neighborhood. But I have to do it very cautiously because I have a dog who does not like cats. And I am a big VCR supporter. I love catching their lives every day. If I can't watch them, I go back and watch them after. And I hate that I've been missing y'all's Playhouse because I work Saturdays now. I just coincidentally got off work and was able to watch it.
Did you say you're feeding 60 community cats?
I
6
feed about
0?
Yeah, about 60 cats in the neighborhood.
Holy cats.
But somebody's got to do it. I don't want to see them hungry. If people would just spay and neuter their animals, they wouldn't have to worry about it. Because I live in an area where people, if they move out, they will just go off and abandon their cats, which is really sad. But I will pass it on to the next person, Susan, and yet wish y'all a very, very Merry Christmas.
Dawn, I will mention quick that you can re-listen to these Clubhouse rooms on dailybigcat.com. There's a playlist there so that you can re-listen to all the ones that you've missed when you were working, if you want to.
Well, I did something. I bought me a headset, so now I can listen to y'all.
Well, good. I'm glad.
And they will never know because they'll never know if I'm listening to my music or if I'm listening to something else. So
That's right. Good for you.
well, everybody have a Merry Christmas and a good New Year.
Thanks, Dawn, and thank you so much caring for 60 cats. It's amazing, and also I love hearing all the stories about all the cats that have been rescued and have had loving homes. I was just wondering about cats and Christmas, because I was raised with cats, and the first cat I had was 1 month younger than me, and I got him when he was about 6 weeks, so he was there for the first 16 years of my life, and then he passed. And at my mother's house there were always cats, and when I started to live on my own, after half a year I said I want a cat. So since then I've always had cats, and or a cat, one cat. And the first cat I got, Jenny, she passed when she was 18 years old. And then I waited a couple of months until Christmas came again to get another cat. Unfortunately, she passed quite recently because of lots of renal and heart failure, and she had an extra vertebra, and both came out of the Humane Society Association in our country. And my last cat I called the 1.5 meter cat, because she always wanted to keep her distance, and later on I heard she was mostly a semi-feral cat who still wanted to live indoors, but I think I made her happy. So now I've got an appointment with my vet to get a new cat next Wednesday, and I think I've decided that I never want to be without a cat at Christmas. It's just the house is way too empty without a cat, being curious around the Christmas tree or just lying around and, yeah, just being happy with the Christmas lights. I really miss that. So I'm looking forward to next Wednesday and getting myself a new cat. So, yeah, I just don't want to be without cats at Christmas. And I was wondering if someone else can relate to that.
I would never want to be without a cat.
No, but when I just lost my first cat, I needed a break. I needed some time to mourn, but indeed, I can't be without a cat too long. That's true. Missy, would you like to take the stage?
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everyone. So I have two kitten-aged cats. I have Charlie, who is an orange tabby. He's just over a year. And then I have Violet, who is a black and gray tabby, and she's just under a year by a few months. And these two crack me up, which is awesome. I have horrible anxiety, so I need these two in my life. So this is something I've never encountered in my life. When I was growing up, when I was a kid and I lived at my parents', they always left out dry food, and the cats would get a quarter can of cat food in the morning, and then at night they'd get a quarter can of cat food. When I had my first cats, when I was living on my own, did the same thing. So when I got these guys recently, same thing. I'd leave out their dry food. They get Iams. And then they like Friskies. I know I could do better. But they get a quarter can of cat food each in the morning, a quarter can of cat food each in the afternoon. Charlie went for his annual shots, and he's 17 pounds. Now, granted, this guy is huge. He's got some pretty massive paws. He's kind of fluffy, but he is a big guy. So the vet told me that he's 17 pounds. He does need to lose weight. Violet's a pretty healthy cat, but I've never had a cat that's overweight, so I don't really know what to do with him. The vet told me to limit their food to a cup per cat per day. So I've been doing that, and they're not eating all the crunchies. So I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any ideas?
When my cat needed to lose weight, I used a bowl in which you can put treats to give them the dry food, and then he'd had to run after the bowl to get the dry food out, because it was a bowl where you put it in and then it goes out one by one. Don't know if I'm clear. And also, my mum throws the dry cat food around the room, so the cats have to chase after them.
My first cat I was told he was going to be underweight. At a year, he was 28 pounds. He was a tuxedo. He was a very, very large cat. So my vet told me he needs to be on a diet, needs to be on a diet. My cat lived to be 20 years old, never lost a pound. Didn't matter if I ran him, didn't matter if I put down diet food. He was just a fat cat. So I don't know that necessarily weight. I mean, sometimes I'm sure it's an issue because it can be a kidney issue, but he never had any issues with his weight. Never lost a pound.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, he runs around the apartment all day. He's still a kitten. I don't give any of my cats treats. It's not like they're missing anything, but I don't know. Sounds good, Melissa. I'll run with it. Hi, Nancy. Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, this is Nancy. I've had cats my whole life. My first cat was Barnabas, named after the character on Dark Shadows. And I carried him everywhere. I'd roll him up and down the street in a doll buggy with a dress on. I mean, he would just let me do anything. And so I've just had cats all my life. Some of the special ones, one was Max that I had for 7 years. And one night on Halloween, he was hit by a car and got himself home somehow and was dragging his back legs. I got him to the vet, of course, immediately, really upset. And he had broken his tail, so they waited to see if he was going to make it, and then they took that off. But he had some problems after that with urination and defecation, like his body, he wasn't able to go with either very easily. And I kept having to take him back to the vet. And he tried Dexatrim for one thing to help strengthen the sphincter and all that, and that helped. That was, the vet was just trying something that he thought would work because of an ingredient in it, and it did. And he said, the only reason you're bringing him in, essentially, is to let me express his bladder, and I think you can actually do that better than me. Your hand is smaller and more gentle. So he taught me how to do that, and I did that in the tub at home and would scour the tub out. And I think he lived maybe 5 more years after that. He had trouble off and on, but he lived and hunted and had fun and, did everything a cat does. But like one person said, he was there with me through my growing up period, getting out on my own, and he was just always there to cry on or whatever, or to make me laugh. And so the cat that I had before the one I have now was Sunam, and he was named after a tiger that I saw in Mark Ham's demonstration at the fair in Florida. And I didn't know then about cub petting and exploiting them through showing them, making them do tricks and stuff. I didn't understand what I was looking at, but I loved that tiger, and I named my cat after him when I got my next cat. But he was very, very special. I had him for 14 years. 4 years ago, just suddenly, within days, he got sick. He stopped eating. Took him to the vet, and they discovered that he had a lung tumor. And they were trying to just do palliative care. And as quickly as they would draw the fluid off, it would build right back up where he wasn't able to breathe well. And they had him on oxygen and stuff, so I had to let him go across the Rainbow Bridge. But I grieved really hard. I had never been alone in my house when I lost a pet before. I'd always been living with family or a roommate or something. And so it really, really devastated me. And I even went to a counselor a couple of times through EAP at work. And I just visited the shelters and just took my time. I had to take time. I couldn't do it immediately because he was just too special. He would talk to me and all this stuff. He was crazy and funny. But I went to the Humane Society. It's a no-kill shelter, thankfully. And little Tuxie Zach just got up in my lap. He laid on me for an hour and a half. And then he got down and greeted everybody in the room, and he came right back and slept for another 30 minutes. And the lady came through, that's my friend now, and she said, did someone pick you? And I said, yeah, he picked me. And so I came back the next week and got him. And he's so completely different from Sunam, but so gentle. And like, Thursday night, he laid on me for the entire night. I fell asleep on the couch with him. He fell asleep too, and just laid on me the whole night. And he's 4 years old, but he wants to be where I am all the time, and it's just so sweet. But Carol, I've never said this on here before, but I always wanted, when I was little, to adopt every cat that didn't have a home, and I just told my parents that's what I was going to do. But
oh my!
I never did it either, but I still would like to see the things that you want to see done to help them and protect them and get people wise to spaying and neutering and caring properly for them. But thank y'all, and I hope y'all all have had a Merry Christmas.
Randall, how about you?
Sorry about that. I was on a different app. Had to scroll back. Merry Christmas, everyone. I will say this month was one of the best ones. We adopted a new cat that kind of showed up on our patio. And I did all the right things. I waited a couple days, make sure that the cat didn't go home on its own, and made sure that nobody in the neighborhood was claiming it. Advertised it on the neighborhood app and looked around for anybody who was saying they lost a kitten or so, because it did have a collar and a bell on. So I thought, well, he has had it. But after a month now, finally adopted the little girl and getting her integrated now and starting to getting her used to the other cat, and very promising. So it was very, very good and encouraging to see. The other cat that I have has been with me now for 7 years, and it's a black cat named Sambo. And it was kind of named after the childhood book that I always loved, which was Little Black Sambo. This year for Christmas, I got a little special treat from my stepson. He actually got me the book, the original book from 1959, with Little Black Sambo. So it was a really special Christmas. Let me go ahead and pass it on. I appreciate the time. Merry Christmas. Karen?
Hi, everyone. I had some trouble getting on, so I am just listening. So I'm going to pass it along, and maybe I'll come back. But I'm trying to catch up. So unfortunately, I couldn't get here, and sorry about that. So I'm going to pass it along to Barry.
Hi, everybody. Merry Christmas to everyone. So I'm having one of the best Christmases I've had, and I don't know how long. I haven't owned a cat since 1995. I've been wanting to get a cat, but I've been procrastinating. There was this great cat in our neighborhood that I would see outside all the time. And I was like, I would ask people, whose cat is that? And they said, well, that's the neighborhood cat. I later found out that it is my next door neighbor's cat. And they said he was an outdoor cat, and it's a male cat. His name is Ash, A-S-H, and you can see him in my icon there. So they went out of town for the holidays, and I had already declared that I was this cat's godmother. If anything should happen to them, then I would take care of Ash. So they asked me if I would cat sit him while they were out of town. I was ecstatic, and I had ulterior motives because I do have mice. And as much as I love cats, I despise mice. I never understood why the mouse was the good guy in the cartoon and the cat was the bad guy. That made no sense to me. But I do love this cat anyway. So they were supposed to bring him over for a sleepover before they left so I could understand more about the cat and what his patterns were and so forth, which didn't happen. And then the day they were leaving, we brought over the cat box, they brought over some food, but no cat. And they said that the cat is out all day and all night, and he meows at their door, at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, well, that's going to be a problem because I'm not up at 7, and he's going to be meowing at their door instead of my door. So the cat, I don't see the cat for 2 or 3 days, even though I'm supposed to be cat sitting this cat. Finally, I sent them a text and said, I have not seen hide nor hair of your cat. And then they told me that they got somebody going in and out of their house and that the cat was in their house next door. So I said, would you please have them bring Ash over? So he brought Ash over. He was a little reluctant. But Ash has been getting mountains of love and affection. He's been getting catnip. He's well fed, and has showed no desire to go outside. In fact, I opened the door and offered him the opportunity to go run the streets because supposedly he's a outdoor cat. And he looked at me like I was crazy and said, in so many purrs, I'm not going anywhere. And Ash has been very content here. My girlfriend says, well, you're not going to give the cat back. And I says, well, the cat may not want to go back. But despite any of that, it's clear that I need to get my own cat if I can't have Ash. So I will stop the procrastination. I want a cat just like Ash. But yeah, cats are adorable, And as far as extermination services go, it's my understanding that if you have mice and you have a cat move in, they don't wait to be exterminated. They pack their bags and they leave. I don't know if if that's true. Those mice have left. And since Ash is a fierce mouser, they are very wise to do so. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. And they weren't, because I have a lovable, adorable cat here that is not going to stand for it. Barry, done speaking.
Kat, how about you? Did you have a cat story? Be sure to unmic yourself. Or unmute yourself, sorry.
Is it Kat or Kate? Kayt?
Maybe it's Kate. Kate? Kat? Well, she may have stepped away. Karen, I know you have cats, and you have feral cats. You have all kinds of stories. Yeah. You want to share with us?
I'm sorry. It's so bad here that I'm having such trouble. I'm at my brother-in-law's house, and I actually had to step outside, so it's freezing. I'm in New Jersey. Say that again, Deb.
I said, would you like to share about your cats and your feral cats and such?
Sure. So I have two feral cats. I couldn't before. I was trying to catch up with you guys, so I'm sorry about that. I have two cats that are feral, that are outside. They've been with me since August. I am now called the Little Cat Rescue by my parents instead of the Big Cat Rescue, because I have saved these two cats from a city that's not far away. They were the last two out of 20 cats. 18 disappeared. And a friend of mine, who's actually going to be a guest, I think, next week, begged me to take them. And I didn't know anything about feral cats. So being cold out, and I knew, in August we were going to be facing a winter here, I was really, really afraid. But these cats are so resilient. It's unbelievable what these cats can do. I think if they're well taken care of, they've been vetted. They've been, they're part of a TNR program already. So they actually are doing very well. Deb and the rest of my firewall team hear about them every day because I actually get so nervous about them. But they're really doing well. And then I also have 3 indoor cats. One was a feral herself, and she doesn't get along with the other 2, so I switch them out all day long. And I have a little Yorkie that does get along with the other cats as well. But so I have 5 cats, and they're my friends, and I love them. And we all live together. Like I said, switching them out is I have to do because the one little who was a feral, Jade, she does not like the other 2 that were there before. And so we do have a routine every day of switching out at the same time my 2 cats for my 1 cat. So we live in a weird way, I guess. My family thinks I'm a little crazy, but between the ferals and the Jade, who doesn't get along with the other 2, and then my 2 babies that have been with me for a real long time, we do what we have to do, I think, just like anybody else. So I don't know what to do with these ferals. I'm learning about outdoor cats. I have a friend that actually was a keeper at Big Cat Rescue, and she kind of guides me. She's not there any longer, but she kind of guides me because she knows more about it than me. So if anybody knows and lives in a cold climate, if you can actually PM me some tips and hints, because I worry just about their welfare, and they worry every day. So if there's anybody out there that knows about that, I would appreciate it greatly if you could give me some tips and hints, because I'm just really learning about these cats. I didn't realize how many of them are out there, and I think in Florida it's a little bit easier because of the weather and the climate, but I'm starting to love them very much, and I worry that we have coyote, we have bear, we have fox, we have deer. One night I actually was looking on, of course I have 2 cameras on them at all times, so I was watching on the camera and I saw this giant animal from the top. Did not have any idea what it was inside their little enclosure, and it was a deer. I have no idea deer would eat cat food, but he was in there, squished himself inside, and he was happy as a lark in there. But if anybody can give me tips about how to keep a deer out, or is that normal? Is it normal for all these? I have skunks in there. I have raccoon in there. I live kind of in the mountains, even though I'm in New Jersey. I live in the hills of New Jersey. Please, if anybody's out there that can help me, that would be wonderful. And that's it. That's my cat story.
Well, you have quite the feral mansion set up there. It's not like they don't have a place to go, Karen.
I watched what Carol did with her enclosures, and then I watched all the lives, obviously. So I learned a little bit about enclosures. And so these cats have like a little mansion outside. The problem is they only spend about maybe an hour in there, and then they leave. And I don't know why. I have pads that are keeping them warm. I have hay. No, not hay. They told me to use straw. I have straw. But they only spend a little bit of time in there, I guess because they're wild and they want to go. But I certainly did learn a lot from Big Cat Rescue about enclosures, and I guess that's why my family calls it the Little Cat Rescue, because I've tried to emulate what Big Cat Rescue does with all kinds of, it sounds crazy, and even when I say it, I probably sound a little crazy, but I try to even do a little bit of enrichment for them with catnip and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's just a whole new world to me. So I did try to make a little mansion outside for them.
Deb, I'm sure you have some cat stories.
And Mike, you're how to unmute yourself.
Hello, I'm here now. If you want me to talk.
Please.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Well, thank you very much for the microphone. I've never had that before, so I appreciate that. I have 6 cats, and it's just me and the cats for Christmas this year, and we still had a good time. A couple of them were even playing together, running around the house, so the younger ones, and the older ones were sleeping on top of me. Well, one of them was. So anyway, I've had cats most of my life, ever since I was a little kid, off and on. And there were times when I moved all over the country when I didn't always have cats, but I've always wanted cats. So these cats, I have 4 older ones and 2 younger ones. The younger ones are, one of them just turned 3 last month, and the other one is 19 months old today. And the others are in their teens, or early teens. So we just have a good time. We're a big, happy family. I don't really have a lot to say about it, but, when other people have all their family Christmas things, and I just spend it with my cats. So thanks a lot. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Well, thank you guys for all sharing. If there's anybody still in the audience that would like to share a cat story, please raise your hand and we will call you up. So the first cat I ever had, I think I was about 4 or 5, and her name was Midnight, and she was black with a little bit of a white chest. And I would dress her up in my doll clothes and put her in the baby doll stroller and take her for a ride. And she was the first cat I ever had. I've had a number of cats through the years, but the two I have now that are spoiled rotten, I've had for 7 years. I got them. I actually rescued them. I am a retired nursing instructor, and one day in class, I overheard. I think students don't realize that you're listening when they talk, like before class starts, that we're listening, because sometimes they'll say things that is like, if you knew I was listening, you wouldn't be talking about this now. But anyway, they were talking, this one girl was talking that she had to find a home for these 2 kittens, because if not, her dad was going to take them down behind the barn and kill them by the weekend. And so when class was over, I knew where she lived, and I said, can I follow you home and bring those 2 kittens home with me? I really didn't have any intention on getting kittens right then, but I wasn't going to let those 2 be killed. So I followed her home and brought those 2 kittens home with me. And my oldest granddaughter, who's now almost 10, was 2 at the time. And she named them. And you'll laugh because it'll tell you what movie was popular at the time for kids. And so their names are Elsa and Olaf. And Elsa is a tortie, and she has quite the tortitude. And Olaf is just a big old orange Garfield cat. He's just lazy and loves to lay on me. And he's the one that, if you're in this room every week, he's the one you hear meow at the start, because he doesn't like it when he thinks somebody's not paying attention to him. So he's the one that you always hear meowing. But I do love my domestic cats, and they're certainly a lot of company during the day, and especially now that I'm home every day, all day. They're a lot of company, and they like to help me on the computer and lay right next to the computer when I'm working. So they're a lot of fun. Terry, I see you have joined us on stage. Did you have a cat story you'd like to share?
Yes, first I want to say Merry Christmas to everyone. I am also being deemed the crazy cat lady. I currently have 7 indoor, and I feed 3 strays, several possums, and a couple of raccoons outside. My latest cat is an orange one who I named Lambert after the lion that didn't survive in the Elephant in the Living Room movie. But the funniest thing that I love gingers. I have 3 of them. All of them have been rescues. Lambert actually was at my husband. He does construction, and they found him at a job site, so he brought him home. But I have a cat named Tazzy. He's also a ginger, and his favorite thing to do is he'll take any of the little stuffed animals that he finds. And I've always thought it was weird. I come out of the bedroom because I don't let them sleep with me. There's too many of them. And these toys would be lined up in a row. And I'm like, how is this happening? So I finally saw Tazzy do it. When he captures it, like he thinks it's a wild critter, he'll put it and he'll line them up that way. And then he'll go around the house howling because he wants everybody else to see what he's caught. So I just always thought that was funny. Thank you for sharing or letting me share.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
So, I know there's a lot of cat expertise in the room here. Does anybody have any experience or know of an anecdotal story of a cat that was supposedly an outdoor cat, but then when he gets the opportunity to stay indoors, he doesn't want to go outside? What do you think that means? Has anybody experienced that or understands cat psychology better than I do? That's my question.
To me, it seems like that the cat is now feeling very much security, feeling loved, and feels like the indoors is an easier way to have their life rather than trying to compete with some of the outdoor obstacles. So it's not necessarily unusual. I've had a couple of cats that didn't want to be indoors, and then the opposite, some that didn't want to go outdoors.
I I would also say, and this is about a dog that my family had, she was a perpetual runaway when I was a little girl. Some family members owned her, did not really take care of her. She had puppies. They got rid of the puppies and bought poodles instead. She got hit by a car. Three-legged dog, so I love my Des with 3 legs, but three-legged dog, Malbute, would hop uphill to get to my grandparents' house every single day. We'd have to bring her back. They'd chain her up for a few days. As soon as she could get free and escape again, she'd run away back to my grandparents' house. They decided they were going to have her put to sleep, and my grandfather was, no, you're not. He adopted her. She was never, ever chained again. She never left the property. No leashes, no nothing. So I'd say sometimes the animals just know where they belong, and that's what they're doing to show you, is they found their home, and they don't need to go outdoors, or they don't need to run away ever again.
Thank you. I didn't sleep that well because this was the first time I had a cat spend the night in a long, long, long time. And I guess I didn't know what to expect about his habits. I didn't know if he was going to say, let me out of here. I'm an outdoor cat. Why are you keeping me here? Which is when I offered him to go out, and he didn't want to go out. But do most people's cats just sleep at night when they do? I mean, I know they're nocturnal creatures, but what do your cats do at night while you're sleeping?
Hi, this is Patricia. Well, I can tell you, my kitties both sleep with me, but sometimes they do move around in the night, and sometimes they do wake me up in the night, and sometimes most of the time when I get up in the morning, I will find various cat toys have moved around the house, all over the place, upstairs, downstairs, and so it's a lot of fun to in the morning to see what has moved where.
My cats sleep about 20 to 22 hours out of every day. So they do move around, of course, but none of them have bothered my Christmas tree. But I keep weird hours myself because I work overnight. So I'm working right now. I'm hoping I don't get interrupted by a call. But they, I think they're kind of used to me being home all the time and sleeping whenever I sleep. So they just kind of, I live like a cat pretty much. I sleep at weird hours, and so do they. And so that's what mine do. But sometimes they do run up and down the hall at night or in the daytime.
Mine tend to get zoomies during the night, and they're not quiet about it either. And to piggyback onto what Kate said about her Christmas tree, my Christmas tree is anchored to the wall because my Elsa likes to climb in the Christmas tree, and she's big enough now that she'll topple it over, so it's anchored to the wall.
I do have one more thing to say. Let's get that big Cat Public Safety Act passed this year.
Thank you for that.
It needs to be passed. I've seen too many clericals and other wild cats on Facebook, people petting them and thinking they're pets, and they're just not. And it's disgusting.
Carol, did you have anything that you'd like to say about any of your cats or anything else before we close the room?
Yeah, I posted at the top of the page a picture of a man milking a cow and feeding some cats. And the reason that I posted that is the first time I saw that picture, I thought it was my grandfather. My father's parents lived way out in Odessa, which was the middle of nowhere back in the 60s. And my earliest memories were going out to their farm, and they had this cow, and he would bring the cow into the barn to milk it. And there would be, I swear there must have been 40 or 50 cats that would just line the walls, and he would shoot that milk across the walls, and those cats would catch every last drop of it. They never missed. It was just amazing to watch. And I remember, if you guys remember, those great big huge bags of Purina cat chow, they were like 20-pound bags. He'd cut the top off of those bags, and then he had garbage can lids that were strewn all over the property, and he'd fill up those garbage can lids with that 20-pound bag, and that was his feeding the cats every day. So between the milk and the Purina cat chow, that's all I knew about how cats lived until I was much, much older. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight and sharing so many fun stories. And I really got a kick out of learning a little bit more about each of you and your pets and how all of that interacts. I just can't appreciate you enough for coming here on a Christmas day and sharing all of that with all of us. Deb, did you have anything to wrap up the room with?
Next week will be New Year's night. But we have two really wonderful guests that have agreed to join us on that holiday. One is Dr. Kim Lannon. She is, you may need to help me here, Carol. I know she is someone that Big Cat Rescue, or Carol and Big Cat Rescue has, that is available for people to talk to, like the volunteers and staff members as needed for like grief counseling when a cat passes. But she's coming to speak about compassion fatigue. And then there's a friend of Karen's who does a lot of feral rescue that Karen actually mentioned a few minutes ago, who's going to join us as well next week. So that we're going to be talking more about like compassion fatigue and that sort of thing next week on New Year's. Carol, anything else?
I'm going to pin the link up here at the top for her so that you guys can go to her page and find out more about her. But she's been very helpful to the people here at the sanctuary. As you can imagine, when we lose a cat, we have so many volunteers and staff and interns who take it hard. And so she has been part of our workplace group to help people work their way through those losses. And I think this is a time of year around the holidays when people are dealing with a lot of sadness, and especially in the last 2 years with COVID kind of turning everybody's world upside down. It just seemed like when Deb suggested having Dr. Kim Lannon on that it was a great time to do that when everybody's kind of feeling that. So I think you'll find her to be pretty amazing.
And I was just going to add, this is Karen, about Amber. She really is an amazing human being. I've never, ever, in all my years of 58, met anyone like her. She actually has called me crying once in all the years that I've met her, that I've talked to her, because I don't know how she does it, but that one day it did get to her. So it does relate. But this girl, I call her a girl, she's probably in her early 30s. She just is an amazing human being. She has given up everything to save domestic cats. And I think she'll be very interesting to listen to. So hopefully she'll bring something to the table. But just her story, I think you'll find absolutely amazing and inspiring. So I think it'll be a good time.
Well, thank you all so much for joining this evening on Christmas night and spending some of your time with us. You can join us next week. We meet every week, actually, at 6 p.m. on Saturday. And if you've missed any of the previous Clubhouse rooms for Big Cats, you can find those at dailybigcat.com. We started recording those back, I don't know, it's been 2 or 3 months ago now. We didn't record the first few because we didn't really think about it. And there was no real good way to do it in the beginning. But I think we've got that figured out. And so you can re-listen to those there. So thank you guys for joining. Have a wonderful rest of your Christmas night. Have a great week this week. And I hope to see all of you back next Saturday night at 6 o'clock.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for...
Merry Christmas,
Good night.
everyone. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Night, night.